This is China. No, I'm not mistaken. China, not Paris. And this, by the way, is not London, but a district in a Chinese city. And this is also not an American Tesla, but one of the new Chinese electric cars. And you yourself understand that this is not an iPhone, but a shameless Chinese copy. But as the creator of the same iPhone, Steve Jobs said, "We have always been shameless about stealing great ideas." So China is not ashamed of the great copy-paste idea. And this video is about how local companies and the whole country are turning from imitators into world leaders. 10 to 15 years ago, the expression Chinese phone led to, what is that? Such masterpieces as Nokia, Samsung, Sony, Ericsson, or Typhone with a built-in TV. The quality is such that some devices are generally only enough for one call. On the other hand, has anything really changed today? Here it is, the iPhone 13. And here is the Chinese Xiong G13 Pro. The iPhone 6 is its F3 and F3 Plus clones. They have all been stealing for many years, they are not shy at all. But the difference is that 15 years ago, Chinese companies and factories were mainly engaged in imitation or were simply copying cases. And therefore, the main brand in the Chinese market then is Shanzhai, which means fake in Chinese. In the Celestial Empire, even Audi keychains or packs of cigarettes are forged, making mobile phones out of them. But things started to change in 2007 when, on the one hand, the Chinese government announced a huge tender for someone to develop their own new 3G network standard for the country. Then the market leader claims the contract, huge, and it seems that the unsinkable Nokia is the same as Ericsson. But the contract and the money do not go to them, but to the local ZTE and Huawei. And with this money, they begin to create their own smartphones. And on the other hand, in the same 2007, Google launched an open Android operating system. It will take 5 years and a bunch of budget Chinese devices will work on it. The whole world will know that there is not only Apple and Samsung, but also Xiaomi, Meizu, Oppo, Vivo, Lenovo, and Kumo. I won't list everything, but simply because smartphones are now produced in China, listen up, by 300 different companies. But most importantly, if 15 years ago chips for Chinese mobile phones were imported from Taiwan, today China itself produces microprocessors. True, not everyone likes it, and US sanctions over the past year have effectively killed Huawei's share. And Taiwan's MediaTek is becoming the largest manufacturer of mobile chips, the one on which Nokia and other crafts worked. But this will not stop Chinese development. The formula for China's success is very simple. First, you copy everything you like. You don't stop there. Learn how to do it yourself. You find money on development and invest it in production. If the business starts to work, they naturally begin to fight with you, and not always honestly. And in the end, if you're good enough, you win. And today, there are 3 Chinese companies in the top 5 world leaders in smartphones. Now look at this rating. Top 10 world leaders in car production. That's right. There are no Chinese companies here. Not yet. Because as with smartphones, the Chinese are following the same path. They try to copy everything. BMW, Volkswagen, Porsche, Ford, Hummer, and even Mini and Dumatis. True, now China has moved to the next stage, when you look at the novelties of the Chinese auto industry and understand that the car has been copied again, only not so obvious. Let's take a look at this Chinese Tesla, for example. The machine is called Xpeng P7. Why such a resemblance to the original Tesla? Well, here are all the questions for Elon Musk, or rather for his official statement of June 12, 2014. It sounds like this: all our patents are belong to you. That is, Elon Musk promises the whole world that Tesla will not sue anyone if this someone wants to use Tesla technology in good faith. Is this an unfair use? Let me remind you, Musk gives patents to the whole world in 2014. And in the same 2014, Xpeng appears in China. 3 years later, Alibaba invests in it, a huge plant is being built the next year. And today in 2023, new Chinese electric cars are exported and sold in Norway, Sweden, Denmark, and the Netherlands at a price of about 10,000 euros cheaper than the same Teslas or competitors from BMW. Why is it so? Well, because the company has fantastic government backing. In April 2022, and pay attention, the Agricultural Bank of China is lending XPeng €1 billion to expand globally. The Chinese, instead of spending a lot of money to compete with internal combustion engines, are investing where everything is just beginning. In the first 3 months of 2022, global electric car sales jumped 120%. The same Tesla will sell a record 310,000 cars. But XPeng is looking even further and bringing to Europe not only electric cars that drive on the roads, but also those electric cars that can already fly. For example, this XPeng X2. But sometimes Europe itself passes to China. Try to guess where the real Paris is. This one or this one. Do you understand here? Well, it's clear that this is a fake Eiffel Tower. Chinese, short. Instead of 300 meters, only 108. But a copy of Paris is not the only thing that the Chinese will build at home. Here, please, no less diligent copy-paste from London. They didn't just build the Tower Bridge, but they also tried to repeat the layout of the streets, the atmosphere. Red telephone boxes, pubs, and even lampposts were brought from England. Don't like Chinese London? Please, there is a local Venice. More specifically, the city of Suzhou, it is west of Shanghai. There is also a copy of the Austrian village of Hallstatt, mini Manhattan, Germantown, Dutch village, and American Jackson Hole.
Welcome to Jackson Hole, China.
Chinese builders will invest a lot of money in all of this. For what? Well, firstly, such places are built to relieve the pressure on large cities like Shanghai. The main problem there, of course, is overpopulation. But why is it necessary to make copies of famous Western cities? There are 2 reasons. First, it is easier to attract attention to such projects because in China, everything Western is synonymous with prosperity and a good life. Just so you know, before COVID, almost half of all luxury buyers in France were Chinese. They spent an average of 11,000 euros per trip on shopping, and there were 2 million of those who came to France every year. And for those who do not have the opportunity to come to real Paris or London, a fake Paris or London can be built for them. And housing there will be more expensive than in the rest of China. And moving to such a city, it is assumed that a person buys not only a house, but also a lifestyle. If this is a copy of Jacksonville, there will be golf and restaurants with American fast food. If this is a copy of a British city, fish and chips, and tea drinking. But there is a second reason, a pragmatic one. It's construction. Opportunity to invest funds and involve your companies in the construction of these cities. And more funds will be allocated for large projects. And it doesn't matter that all these copies of cities are half empty and are at the devil's horns.
And a place like this would normally be packed, but it's pretty dead. So I'm just like, it feels very strange being here right now.
But as they say, there are many Chinese. Sooner or later, they will move in. But the Chinese government decided to abandon such projects in imitation of the West, and from copies of cities and from skyscrapers. The first failed because no one especially goes there to live. And secondly, on the contrary, everyone wants to live. And so they lead to the same overpopulation. So now in China, the course is to promote their own culture and architecture. Well, and technology, of course. And not in slogans, but in practice. In these 3 Chinese examples, mobile phones, cars, and cities, you can clearly see what works and what does not. You can and even need to copy if it eventually leads to something of your own. It is worth investing where breakthroughs are possible. And in a big way, it is definitely necessary to invest where they have already begun. But imitation in its essence will not lead to anything good. So don't be afraid to copy, invest, and never imitate.